Hi, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Well, people are checking in and just wondering about your experience with the Buteyko method. So I would appreciate if you use the chat box and tell me, if you're completely new to the Buteyko method, never heard about it before, or maybe you know a little bit, or who knows, maybe you know it really a lot. And that would be great. Maybe you took all kind of courses. And then we could share our information. Hi, Ernesto. Nice to see you in person, kind of in person through Zoom. Yeah. So, yeah, so here is an answer from Mark. I know a little bit from reading I've done and podcast. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So again, I would like to ask everyone while people are still checking in, just to tell me whether you know a lot about the Buteyko method or maybe nothing or a little bit. Yeah, what is your level of knowledge? This workshop is supposed to be for beginners, but we'll see. So there is another answer. Have a brief experience with Buteyko a couple of years ago. Looking forward to learning more and remembering what I learned earlier. Wonderful. So glad. Yeah. People are still typing. Just wait a little bit more. Wonderful. I've got the CDs. I've read the book. I have asthma myself, and I was a respiratory therapist, and that's Deb. Oh, so wonderful to know this, Deb. One of our best Buteyko breathing specialists is Fred Brown, who is a registered respiratory therapist from New York. I've heard about him. Yeah, and it's always amazing for me how he combines conventional and unconventional, but he does a very good job on it. In fact, from the first day of COVID, he worked with people in hospital. Yeah, and he was helping them tremendously by teaching them basic elements of the Buteyko method. I believe he saved a lot of lives by doing that. There is an answer from Joe. I have tried Buteyko in the past, but I didn't stick with it. It was very difficult. I'm hoping I can do better this time. Yes, the Buteyko method definitely can be very difficult for some people. And it's really important to understand clearly how to apply it. And then we're supposed to apply it for the rest of our lives, though it gets easier and easier. It's difficult mostly at the beginning. Okay, so I think we are ready to start this event. Hi everybody again. And most of you know that I'm Sasha Yakovleva. I'm a co-founder of the Breathing Center. I'm advanced Buteyko breathing specialist. And also I represent the patent holders of the Buteyko method in the United States. Okay, so before we start discussing the Buteyko method, I'd like you to start experiencing it right away. So we will start by basically getting familiar with our own breathing, because most people are not even aware of their breathing patterns. So just for maybe 30 seconds or so, please close your eyes and look inward. And I don't want you to do anything. Just observe your breathing. And this process on its own could be, very stressful for some people, especially people who have asthma. And if it's this way for you, just try to stay calm. You might notice that your breathing starts changing and become faster or shallower. Or for some people, it might be a fine process. And you might notice that your breathing is becoming a little slower. Is it difficult for you to breathe? Are you enjoying your breathing? Do you perceive your breathing as your friend? Are your breathing patterns beautiful, harmonious, friendly? Or maybe it's the opposite. Do you feel that your breathing is your best friend who always helps you to feel better? Okay, thank you. And now let's start with the breathing exercise. I would like you to make notes actually, or remember what you feel about your own breathing, because we will share our experiences later. But right now we start with breathing exercise. So most people who have breathing difficulties are very afraid of one thing, the monster. And I call that monster air hunger. And everyone who has breathing difficulties is always trying to chase this monster away, whether by spraying it with a rescue inhaler or by, suppressing it with steroids or trying to ignore it. There are all kinds of ways to deal with this monster. But the fact is that it's very, very scary to face our air hunger, our sensation of lack of air. And of course, as you know, most doctors and alternative practitioners develop all kinds of ways to fight against it. But today, instead of fighting against this monster, we are going to look at its eyes. And you might discover that its eyes are actually full of love and compassion to you. And this monster might become, and I hope that it will become, your favorite pet and your companion. So let's try this very, very simple exercise. Please put your palms like this. Yeah. First, I'll explain it and then we'll do the exercise. And then I want you to use your palms to put it around your nose like this. However, you don't need to squeeze your nose, you just put it around your nose. Okay? And imagine that the monster got you. You're caught. It's really difficult to breathe. However, you don't need to make it a torture for yourself. You need to be in tune with, don't do it yet, I'll just explain it first. In tune with your current limitations of what your breathing can do or what your breathing cannot do. So if it's okay for you to breathe this way with your palms being completely closed, that's fine. If you feel that it's too difficult for you to breathe, then open your palms a little bit, right? And then maybe you feel that it's easy to breathe again, then close your palms. And you could imagine that it's some kind of a clam or a shell. So it could open a little bit and close, open and close if it's needed. But if you feel comfortable breathing through your palms being completely closed, then it's fine. It's even better. So let's try this exercise. Put your palms around your nose. relax, and for 2 minutes, try to make your breathing slightly challenging for yourself, however, not unbearable. So relax into this feeling of reduced breathing. You're very brave right now. You're facing the monster. You are giving your palm to a monster saying, hello, can we be friends? I hope so. So relax, relax, and relax. Right now, you are reprogramming your brain, sending a message to your brain that breathing less, it's okay. It's not that dangerous. It's not that scary. Again, if it's too difficult for you, don't hesitate to open your palms. Even if you open it for 1 or 2 seconds, this could make a very big difference. So you should feel good doing this exercise. Not like, it should be a little challenging. So I wouldn't say that people are able to be completely relaxed doing it, but try to relax into this process as much as possible. We have just 20 more seconds to do this exercise. We are almost done. And again, if it's difficult for you to breathe this way, you could always open your palms and make your breathing easier. 1 more second, that's it. So please open your, okay. And now, yeah, Ernesto, please open your palms. So maybe that's good. And now just breathe normally as you did before and notice your breathing. Is it a little bit easier to breathe? Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. Wonderful, yeah. So you see that breathing less, not having enough air, experiencing air hunger could be actually quite positive. It could be just like an exercise, like a training. And then you feel actually that it's really easy to feel when you're to breathe, when your breathing is not abstracted. Okay. So we will do a lot of breathing exercises today, trying to change our breathing patterns, trying to switch to healthier way of breathing. And right away, I want to tell you about the biggest mistake you made. I assume most people with breathing difficulties do that. Probably you were trying to breathe more when you felt that it was difficult to breathe. Maybe you felt breathless, maybe you were wheezing, maybe you experienced a lot of cough, maybe you experienced some asthma attacks, or even panic attacks related to the feeling of not being able to breathe freely. And what did you do in this case? If you are not familiar with the Buteyko method, most likely you were following the conventional advice of medical doctors and alternative practitioners, the advice of breathing more, basically breathe more, right? And if you were doing that, you definitely were making a contribution into the development, further development of your asthma or breathing difficulties. So Dr. Buteyko's advice was, it's difficult to breathe, breathe less, cooperate with your body. Your body wants to breathe less. So start breathing less. And this is the major difference between the Buteyko method and any other asthma treatment, I would say, or asthma approach. So the Buteyko method is always breathe less, versus breathing more. And by my experience and the experience of my clients, by breathing more, you will never be able to stop your asthma or breathing difficulties. And that's why doctors consider asthma being an incurable disease. I absolutely agree with them. You cannot end breathing difficulties by breathing more. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about this workshop and what to expect today. I'm going to share my screen with you. And we're going to see the slides. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Okay. So Dr. Buteyko said there is no health without healthy breathing. And it is very true. You know, if we stop breathing right now, all of us will not be alive. So everything in the body is impacted by breathing. And today we will talk about the impact of breathing. What is a healthy impact of healthy breathing and what is an impact of unhealthy breathing? And our goal is, my goal today is to help you to become successful with the Buteyko method, by applying the Buteyko method, which is known as a natural cure for asthma. And it totally doesn't matter how old you are or how many medications you are on, how many surgeries you have had, or how much money you spend on trying different breathing methods. This method definitely works, and I will prove it to you today. And we will talk about different things today, but the main goal is to create a tuning point away from breathing problems and towards optimal health. And there are three things we want to offer to you today, and there are goals. So just be open, first of all. I know that the Buteyko method could be perceived as counterintuitive first. So just stay open, listen, and do the breathing exercises. And then today we will also create a plan how to implement the method. And I would like to ask you to trust the process. I have been teaching this method for 12 years, and I helped a lot of people around the world to stop their breathing difficulties. So today I will help you to start applying the Buteyko method. And this is a roadmap of our workshop today. First, I will share my story, and Dr. Buteyko's, I will also tell you about Dr. Buteyko's work regarding asthma. Then we will look at some proof why this method works. And then we will have a break, just a 5-minute break. And then when you come back, we will do a lot of breathing exercises. We will also discuss how to modify the lifestyle to breathe better. We'll talk about the results you should expect if you decide to apply the Buteyko method fully. And we will set also a plan for you. And then in the end of the program of this workshop, I will answer your questions. So I hope you are ready to start. And now we are going to start. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, just a second. Oops. 1 second. You're still seeing my screen, right? Yeah. Okay, let me just find what's going on. Oh, here it is. Okay, I just covered this button. Okay, I'm back. Thank you. First, I'd like to share my story with you, because I think that, you know, all people who learn the method from me should have a question. It's a reasonable question, you know. Why this strange Russian woman, who is not a doctor, who is not a health practitioner, who never actually had asthma, you know, dares to teach how to stop breathing difficulties, right? So you absolutely should not trust me completely, but I would like you to just stay open and in your mind to create a possibility that breathing difficulties can be stopped. So here is my story. In 2006, I was dreaming about an ideal partner. I was in many relationships before, but I never was with anyone who I would consider my ideal partner. And I met a man, his name is Thomas, and we completely fell in love with each other. We liked each other so much that 2 weeks after we met, we decided to get married. And 3 months after we met, we got married. So we loved each other a lot, but we didn't really know each other well. And Thomas was from Hawaii. I lived in Woodstock, New York at that time. He was American, I was Russian. And we decided to, for our honeymoon, we decided to fly to Maui. So we did that, and we had an absolutely wonderful time there, doing all kinds of fun things. And of course, mostly spending our time on a beach and swimming and sunbathing, all of that. And then one evening, we decided to go to a theater to see a wonderful show. So we did that, and it was really nice being in that theater because it had air-conditioned air, and after spending the whole day outdoors, it felt really wonderful. So I remember sitting in that theater, and I just looked around, and I saw people from all kinds of countries around me, because it was only tourists in this theater. And we enjoyed the show, and we came back to our hotel room. And next morning, Thomas started coughing. He also started having chills and other symptoms of flu. And we realized that he caught flu in the theater. You know, it's funny because in 2006, the situation was very unusual. But now, you know, during COVID, everyone knows how dangerous it is, you know, to be surrounded by people from all over the world, and that air conditioners actually could transfer viruses. And that's what happened to us. So he caught somehow some kind of an exotic flu, and he was feeling really, really bad. And first I thought that it's not a big deal and it will be over in a couple of days. But it wasn't over, it was getting worse. And in addition, I caught the same flu. So the rest of our honeymoon, we spent in bed, you know, we didn't go anywhere. And we were just, you know, sneezing, blowing our noses. He was feeling very breathless, and we kind of were sinking in an ocean of mucus, I would say. So it wasn't really fun, And both of us were dreaming for that honeymoon to be over and to go back home to Woodstock, because we thought that as soon as we are home, everything will stop and we will be fine again. So we came home, and Thomas called right away his best friend, Ira Parkman, who is an American doctor and who has asthma as well. And he said, here's what's happening, what shall I do? And Dr. Parkman told him that he should take antibiotics right away to stop this flu. And I should do the same. Well, I refused to take antibiotics because I was kind of Miss Natural, but Thomas took antibiotics. However, you know, it didn't help him. He was still in bad shape, and it was the same for me. We also, of course, applied right away some, you know, natural solutions. We did everything to stop that flu, but nothing really worked. However, in about a month, I recovered. I was fine, but he wasn't. He was feeling worse and worse. And this is kind of a typical story when asthma could turn from being, you know, passive and almost not noticeable to a very acute disease. It is in a very short time. So that's exactly what happened to him. And his doctor, Dr. Ira Parkman, told him that this flu triggered his asthma, and his asthma became severe. He did have asthma for 20 years, but he would just use a rescue inhaler maybe once or twice a year, and that was it. So he didn't know that, he didn't think that asthma was a big deal, actually. You know, he thought that, you know, just something to stop, which is very easy to stop with a rescue inhaler. I'm going to show you some slides again of that time, so it becomes a little bit more real for you, my story. Just a second. So, yeah, I don't know if you see it. So that's Thomas and myself during the wedding. And at that time, I didn't know that he had asthma. He would use a rescue inhaler once in a while, but as I said, that was it. So it wasn't a big deal. So to keep this story short, within 6 months, he became a total invalid. And before that, he was, you know, a very strong athletic man. So he developed all kind of allergies to food, to dust, to pets, to pollen, you name it. He was not able to walk without being breathless. And in the winter, during the winter time, he was able to walk maybe just 50 feet outside, and that's it. He also stopped working. He was not able to work because he suffered from chronic fatigue. And he was somewhat depressed as well, because doctors would tell him that asthma is an incurable disease. He was 52 years at that time, 52 years old. So, and they told him that he should expect his health becoming weaker and weaker while aging, and also being on more medication. And at that time, he was already taking, you know, steroid medication and rescue inhalers. And then he had to start taking medication for digestive problems, because the first two types of medication had side effects and they created digestive issues. And it was just like a domino effect without a way out. And that I really didn't know much about asthma at that time. I was just trying to deal with everyday situations. And I learned from doctors that that is what's normal, because again, asthma is an incurable disease. But both of us, he and me, were involved in healing arts all our lives. So we knew a lot about healing, and we tried everything else, whatever was available. Any holistic modality we would come across to, he tried right away, and nothing really helped. And every natural technique he used, it created a bit of a change. He would feel better for a while, but there was no dramatic shift. There wasn't like a turning point from getting sicker and sicker to becoming healthier and healthier. At a certain point, we were told about a place, the best place for asthmatics in the world, and that was in Israel by the Dead Sea area. So we flew there, we spent a month, we spent a lot of money doing all kind of stuff, and we really thought that he was getting better, that he was almost cured. However, as soon as he returned home to Woodstock, and it was winter time in Woodstock, he became ill again. So basically, it felt like there was no hope, and that he was going to die, or his life is going to be very, very difficult. And even though I didn't have asthma, his situation affected me greatly, and asthma became my life. I remember that once I went, at some time I went for a walk with my dog, and I met a friend. And that friend, he was my close friend, more like an acquaintance. And he asked me, "How are you doing?" A typical American question. Well, unfortunately, Russians never say fine, thank you, I'm fine. Russians perceive it very literally and started explaining what's happening in your life. So my answer was, well, I'm not fine. My husband has asthma and he's coughing all the time. And we need to go to emergency rooms and blah, 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 blah. And it probably like 10 minutes passed. And suddenly I had a moment of awareness. So I realized that that poor man, had to stay there and just listen to, how miserable my life was at that time. So I stopped right away, but I realized that, asthma became my life. And asthma usually affects people we love, people around you, because it's very scary, not only for a person who has asthma, but for people around this person as well. It's very difficult to be relaxed and happy when you know that a person you love could basically die from not being able to breathe at any moment. So the situation was really difficult at that time, and I also need to say that it greatly affected our financial situation, because at that time both of us didn't work, and it just was a big, big problem. So we were losing hope and kind of were almost accepting the conventional view on this situation, that that's how it's supposed to be. However, a friend of mine, a Russian friend, at a certain point asked me, "Do you remember about Dr. Buteyko? He is particularly known for his work regarding asthma." And I've heard the name Buteyko before, because when I lived in Moscow, I worked as a journalist, and I was publishing a holistic magazine at that time. And that holistic magazine became a big national publication, and it was quite well quite well known among people who were looking for natural solutions. So at certain point, that was many years ago, Dr. Buteyko actually called me and he asked me to meet to talk about his work, because he wanted my magazine to publish an article about his work. And I've read an article about his work which was submitted, and that article stated that the Buteyko breathing method cures not only asthma, but another more than 100 diseases. And I thought, no, I'm not going to buy it. You know, I would believe that the breathing technique could help one condition, maybe a little bit, but a cure for so many, no. And I didn't publish the article, and I also refused to meet with Dr. Buteyko. This time around, that was in 2018, in 2008, you know, I was very desperate and I was ready to reconsider. So since I was Russian, you know, it was easy for me to give a call to the Buteyko clinic in Moscow, and I did it right away. And the receptionist kind of knew about my magazine. My name was known to her, and because of that, she connected me to Lyudmila Buteyko, the wife of Dr. Buteyko, the widow of Dr. Buteyko. At that time, Dr. Buteyko already died. And of course, knowing that asthma is incurable, I was very, very careful, and I asked Lyudmila, would it be possible for you to ease the situation of my husband, to help him somehow? And she said, oh, of course, we can cure his asthma. And I'm like, cure his asthma? I shouldn't trust this person. That just like snake oil, you know, I really shouldn't do that. And I kind of closed my heart thinking, okay, I'll investigate it further, but, you know, I'm not going to jump into it. And I asked her if it's possible to teach him the method. And she said, sure, you just need to fly to Moscow and stay here for 2 weeks, and it will cost you $10,000. I was like, $10,000? Is it any contract or any, you know, warranty policy, anything? She said, no, you just need to transfer $10,000 to Moscow, then fly here, and we will help your husband to stop his asthma. So jumping into something like that was just completely insane, but we didn't have any other choice. And also, I've heard sincerity and strength and confidence in Lyudmila's voice. And in my heart, I just felt that this is the right thing to do. So fortunately, we had cash at that time. We just transferred it to Moscow, bought the tickets and flew there, and never ever regretted about this decision. So in Moscow, we met with Lyudmila Buteyko, who was like a master teacher of the Buteyko method, and her son, Dr. Novozhilov, who was the medical director of the Buteyko clinic in Moscow, and both of them were patent holders of the Buteyko method. So I'll show you the picture here with Lyudmila Buteyko. And she was late in her 70s at that time. And here is myself and Thomas at the Buteyko clinic in Moscow. She was a very strong and independent person and a real protectoress of Dr. Buteyko's work. So, and then our lessons at the Buteyko clinic started. We were learning the breathing exercises, but also it was a lot of conversations about the method. And that was surprising for me because, as I found out there, the method is based on understanding. If you understand the method, you will do well. If you don't understand the method, you could do endless breathing exercises, but you will not do well then. So, and Lyudmila kept her promise. They did help Thomas with his asthma. Within 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks, he experienced a dramatic shift. And of course, he didn't cure his asthma during this time, but his breathing began improving really fast. And it just felt like this method was totally different from anything he tried before. And I wasn't planning on learning this method with him. However, he didn't speak Russian, and I needed to accompany him everywhere and translate for him. And doing that, I also started getting more and more familiar with the method. And suddenly I realized that, of course, this method helps with breathing difficulties. That was obvious for me. But on top of it, it's just a new health philosophy which can create optimal health for everyone and stop many different conditions. At that time, I was at the beginning of my 40s. I started experiencing joint pain, kidney problems, PMS, and I also had a little bit of snoring and sleep apnea issue. And I started applying this method and I was able to overcome those issues. So at that time, the Buteyko method definitely helped Thomas enormously. It created a very big shift and it helped me also to find the way to optimal health. And at the end of our stay in Moscow, visit to Moscow, we were asked by Russian patent holder of the Buteyko method to represent it in the world, especially in the United States, and to become a source of the authentic Buteyko method. Because the Buteyko method is getting and has been getting actually more and more popular in the West. However, often people present a mixture of correct and incorrect information. And because of this, it generates some questionable results sometimes. So we were specifically asked to preserve the original method in the West and make it available to people in their purest form. And this is what I have been doing since that time. And even though, as I said, I'm not a health practitioner, just by explaining the method and showing people the breathing exercises, I was able to help many, many people around the world. So now let's talk about the Buteyko method and what actually is that method. So Dr. Buteyko was a Russian physiologist who in 1952 discovered that overbreathing is or could be very dangerous for health. This is Dr. Buteyko with some of his patients, and this is Dr. Buteyko with his wife, Lyudmila Buteyko. So how his discovery took place? It took place, first of all, because he was very ill by himself. He had a severe form of high blood pressure, and doctors told him that he would live only for 3 months. He was working as a doctor himself at that time in an elite hospital in Russia. All best medication and treatments were available to him, and yet he was not able to help himself. And he was also puzzled why there were so many people in his hospital who were ill. And in his mind, he would compare people with animals. Think why animals, wild animals, are so healthy and people are so ill. So he had a very focused mind in general. And at that time, it was in 1952, he became completely occupied with the question how to become healthy and how to make other people healthy. And what is it which makes people so unhealthy, so ill? And it was one night in October, dark night, when it was his night shift in hospital. And he was standing in front of a window thinking about it. And this question was just like making loops, I would say, in his mind. And he was praying for an answer. And suddenly he saw a flash of bright light. And he never was sure where did it come from, but it happened. And when it happened, he saw his reflection on the window. And he looked at his reflection and he noticed that his belly was moving quite actively with every breath. And then he also listened to his breathing, and he noticed that his breathing was heavy, was audible. Now, at that time, doctors believed that heavy breathing, overbreathing is a result of, in his case, high blood pressure. But he had a totally revolutionary thought, and he thought, what if doctors are wrong? What if my disease is the result of my heavy breathing, my overbreathing, and not the other way around? So he decided to experiment with it right away. First, he made an effort to make his breathing quieter, and then he tried to slow down his breathing, and he noticed that his belly almost stopped moving. At that time, he was almost in a constant pain all the time. So when he slowed down his breathing and reduced his air intake, his pain started subsiding. He was like, wow, what's happening here? How is it possible to reduce pain by simply breathing differently? He thought, it cannot be true. No, maybe I'm just making it up. And then he decided to do the opposite, and he started breathing actively through his mouth, basically deliberately over-breathing, probably like this. And his pain immediately came back and became even stronger than it was before. So that was a proof for him that breathing can impact everything in our bodies and can trigger symptoms and also can stop or reduce symptoms. And because he was a brilliant physiologist, right away in his mind, he saw the whole physiological chain of what happens when we overbreathe and how it impacts everything in the body, including breathing difficulties. And at that time, he had an alarm going on that someone was having problems. in his his department in the hospital. So he ran there and he saw that it was an asthmatic who was having an asthma attack. It was a man in his late 50s, and he was like suffocating, and his face was, and especially his lips, looked bluish, of course, because he didn't have enough oxygen. And so the man was like, doctor, help me, I cannot breathe. And Dr. Buteyko came to him and he said, yes, I'm going to help you. First of all, close your mouth and try to breathe through your nose quietly. Don't take a big breath. Don't breathe deep. And that man, even though he wasn't, obviously in a very difficult situation, he was still feeling like, but he told Dr. Buteyko, but doctor, before you always told me to breathe a lot. And Dr. Buteyko said, I was wrong. Try this, breathe less. And this man tried to breathe less. He managed to switch to nasal breathing at that moment. And his asthma attack became reduced, and then it became and stopped. So since then, Dr. Buteyko method was helping so many people with breathing difficulties. So how exactly does it work with the breathing difficulties? Well, the first thing which Dr. Buteyko discovered, and this is the result of many years of his work, he had his own laboratory, he had a big team of scientists and doctors working for him. So I'm just skipping this part because we don't have time for it, and just presenting you with the result. So he found out that everyone who has breathing difficulties overbreathes. Okay? And overbreathing is very dangerous, not only for asthmatics, but for everyone. It is dangerous because it reduces our level of CO2, the level of carbon dioxide in the lungs. And of course, we were taught that carbon dioxide is just a waste gas. But Dr. Buteyko found out that it's not, that it's actually our vital energy, and what in yoga was called prana. And there are other names for it in almost every culture in the world. People were aware of it before, but the scientific term for it is carbon dioxide, specifically the level of carbon dioxide in the lungs, which Dr. Buteyko called the main regulator of all bodily functions. So when this level becomes zero, a person dies. And this is not the discovery of Dr. Buteyko, it's just a well-known medical fact. And our bodies don't want us to die. Actually, the body always tries to make itself healthier, to live longer. And if you have a cut on your finger, you will see how that miracle of healing, it will heal on its own, right? So this is a general approach of the body. The body always wants to heal. Because the loss of carbon dioxide is very dangerous and could be even lethal, the body wants to correct this situation. It wants to increase our vital energy. And it does it by various ways. But the first approach is usually by creating breathing difficulties. So if you imagine all airways in your body as pipes, right? Then when you have a lot of mucus, basically those pipes become filled up by mucus. And the diameters of the openings become much smaller, right? And it's more difficult to breathe in this case. And that's how the body is trying to maintain its homeostasis, increasing the level of carbon dioxide, increasing our vital energy. The body tries to do the same by making our airways spasmodic or constricted, you know, that feeling when the chest is tight and you feel like it's difficult to breathe, right? So that's when the airways becomes constricted. Again, less air is circulating through it. It could be inflammation inside. It could be, you know, cough, which kind of makes the airways spasmodic, and so on. There are various mechanisms. Wheezing is one of them. And most of you are probably quite familiar with those mechanisms. And now you know that instead of killing you, they were actually saving your life. They were forcing you to breathe less in order to maintain a high level of carbon dioxide in your lungs. And Dr. Buteyko discovered that the higher level of carbon dioxide we have, actually more oxygen our bodies receive, right? How does it work? Because you would think that, you know, more oxygen you inhale, more oxygen you have. But apparently it's not like that. No matter how much oxygen you take in, if the level of carbon dioxide in your lungs is low, your body, hemoglobin, is not going to release this oxygen to various tissues and organs in your body, and it's going to be wasted. So in order to have full oxygenation of the body, and in order for that oxygen to be utilized properly, we actually need to breathe less instead of breathing more. I just want to show you another slide if I just can find it. Yeah, found it. Just a second. So, see, that's typical look of bronchial tubes and airways in general of someone who has asthma. And you see the diameters of the openings, how different they can be, right? So is it a problem? Absolutely. But at the same time, if a person is not practicing the Buteyko method, it's a solution as well. Because that's by doing this, the body is trying to make breathing very, very difficult, to increase the level of carbon dioxide. But if you know how to increase your level of carbon dioxide on your own, then there will be no need for this defense mechanism against overbreathing. And your bronchial tubes, your airways will stay this way, will stay open. It will be no need for them to narrow their diameters. So, and Dr. Buteyko also found out that as 200 years ago, when medication was not, asthma medication was not in use, asthmatics were known for being very healthy people, except the fact that they had asthma. And also they were known for their longevity. Okay. And the situation changed completely when modern medicine became in use and people started suppressing their breathing difficulties. Okay. And that's why Dr. Buteyko called anyone who has asthma biologically superior to others and fortunate. So if you looked at the situation of Thomas, for example, my husband who had breathing difficulties and my own, he was suffering tremendously compared to me. But from a physiological perspective, he was more fortunate, because as soon as he would start overbreathing, his body would force himself to breathe less, will create breathing difficulties. I didn't have this mechanism, and because of that, I developed kidney problems and joint problems and migraines and whatever else, because my body still needed to deal with overbreathing, but it was not able to stop it right away on the level of breathing. Okay. So when you experience breathing difficulty, just know, I want you to know that your body is actually trying to correct the situation, not to create a situation for you. And it's trying to increase the level of carbon dioxide. So your body is not a kind of a stupid broken machine which needs to be fixed all the time and no one really knows how to fix it. It's actually super intelligent and it knows exactly what it's doing. So today I would like to invite you to start collaborating with an innate intelligence of your body and learn how to breathe less, how to respect and love your breathing and make it your main health improvement tool, your health coach, I would say. Okay. And now I suggest that we have 5 minutes break. And after that, we will start doing breathing exercises. Okay, so I'll see you in 5 minutes then. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready to continue. Please come back. Let me know if you are back by activating your video or by typing in the chat box. You are back. I'll give another minute or two and then we will continue. Wonderful. I see that people are coming back. Yeah, just a little bit more time. I want to tell you and to give you so much information, and normally I do these workshops for a couple of days, but this time it's just the essentials, so it's just 2 hours, and I'm really trying to fit everything in, but we probably won't be able to fit everything in. And while we are still waiting for other people to come, just want to show you a couple more slides. And this was our first actually client at the breathing center, David Weeby, who had asthma. And then David Weeby's stories became very famous when the New York Times wrote an article. Jane Brody wrote an article about our work, my work with David Weeby, and she investigated the method because she never wrote an article about any alternative approach. So she didn't think that the Buteyko method worked, and yet she came to the conclusion that it worked. And that actually created a major shift for people with breathing difficulties because many asthmatics became aware of the positive results of Buteyko breathing on their method, on their breathing. Okay, so this part is going to be a bit more practical, less talking, more doing probably. The first thing I'd like to discuss with you is breathing measurements. Dr. Buteyko discovered that anyone who has asthma overbreathes, and therefore this person has a deficit of CO2 in his or her lungs. Okay, but is it true? How do we know? So Dr. Buteyko, in his work, he used a lot of very sophisticated equipment, medical equipment, to measure everything in the body. But at a certain point, his laboratory and all his equipment were destroyed. And then he had to come up with a solution on how to measure the level of CO2 in the lungs without any equipment. And he actually developed and offered us an incredible tool, which is very easy to use, and it's with us all the time. And I'll explain to you how to measure the level of CO2 in your lungs without any equipment. So if you don't know this measurement, you probably feel like you are blind. Many people with breathing difficulties feel this way because you feel like, oh, I'll just try herbs and maybe it will help me. I will try acupuncture and maybe it will help me. Or try a new steroid medication and maybe it will help me. And you don't really know, maybe it helped somewhat, maybe it didn't. I'm not sure if it's helping or not. Maybe not, and I'll try something else. So the Buteyko method gives you a tool to evaluate any effect on your breathing and any effect of medication and any treatment on your breathing. If your level of CO2 is increasing and your symptoms are decreasing, you're helping yourself, you are getting better. You're working on your way out of breathing difficulties. If your level of CO2 is decreasing, your health is getting worse. You should try something else then, okay? So how to measure the level of CO2? It's very simple. You need to inhale gently through your nose. Your mouth is completely closed. So you don't inhale this way, right? You do it quietly and in an unnoticeable way, like this. I'm just using my hand to show my inhale to you. So you inhale, then you exhale gently as well. And then you block your nose this way. And you just stop breathing. And you stop breathing for as long as it is comfortable. It might require a little bit of effort, but not much. So when you open your nose, in order to inhale, it should look this way. Okay? Versus this way. Or this way. Okay? So if you're inhaling heavily, you made a mistake. Your breathing measurement is incorrect. It's a very gentle process. Okay? Do you understand how to do this? Wonderful. In this case, I would suggest that you measure your breathing, and I'm going to activate the breakout rooms. So you will have a partner just for a minute. And I would suggest that one person measure his or her breathing, the partner is observing it and counting seconds. You don't need to be super precise right now. So you could just count like this: 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. And then you switch. Okay. So let's do this. And you have to close your nose this way because your partner should be able to see your mouth. And your mouth should be completely closed. Okay. So for 2 minutes, we will do the breathing measurements. And make sure that your chest doesn't move when you inhale and exhale, and your breathing is not audible, right? Kind of unnoticeable breathing. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a technical problem here. 1 second. Oh. Okay. Almost done. Okay, that should work now. Okay, so please type in the chat box what were your numbers. What was your number? Now the people are coming. Just wait for them. So please type in the chat box what was your control pause. That's what you measured. Okay, everyone is back. Wonderful. So please type in the chat box what was your control pose. 12 seconds, 16 seconds, 18 seconds, 25 seconds, 23 seconds, 16 seconds. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I want you to know that if you are taking any type of steroid-based medication, your numbers are artificially boosted. So if you are taking steroid medication, just so your numbers are like maybe 5, 7 seconds or 10 seconds lower actually than what you measured today. But still it gives you some idea what's going on with your breathing. So based on these numbers, Dr. Buteyko found out, he determined, he developed the technique to evaluate not only the strength of our breathing, but also our overall health. So a person who is at the level of optimal health, his or her control pose, that's what you measured. Sometimes we call it positive maximum pose, but for simplicity, I'll call it control pose today. So it should be 60 seconds. Person should feel comfortable to stop breathing for 60 seconds. If control pose is below 10 seconds, of course, without use of steroids, right? Then this person is severely ill. If a person's control pose is about 25 seconds plus minus, this person is at the level of semi-healthy, semi-ill, which means that the person is functional in life. However, he or she is not healthy, and periodically there are strong symptoms, right? And 14 seconds is the lowest level of the norm, the normal level of carbon dioxide. 60 seconds, as I mentioned, is what we all want. It's the level of optimal health. But usually asthma symptoms stop when a person's control pose becomes 40 seconds. So this measurement allows you to understand what's going on with your breathing. Like if you're not feeling well one day, you measure your control pose and maybe it's 7 seconds. You know that situation is serious. You know that you will experience very strong symptoms this day. The other day you measure it and it's 30 seconds, then you know that, it's a good day for you. Most likely you will not have any symptoms or they will be rather weak. So this fantastic technique gives us control over our breathing and over our health as well. And it also makes the goal very, very clear. The goal is what I call to become CO2 rich, to accumulate as much CO2 as possible. And it's basically the same as becoming rich in general, having a lot of money. In order to have a lot of money, a person needs to make money somehow and also save money. Because if you're making a lot, but at night you go to a casino and you just spend it all, you're left with nothing again, right? So the same with CO2. You need to do breathing exercises. You need to change your lifestyle to accumulate as much CO2 as possible. And you also need to prevent the situations when you lose a lot of CO2. So Dr. Buteyko's path to optimal health and no breathing difficulties is the path of CO2 accumulation of our vital energy. So how to step on this path, what to do? The first step, of course, is to become very aware of your breathing, to notice your breathing, because if you don't know how you breathe, you cannot change it. And then start imitating healthy breathing all the time. So it's like, imagine that the person has a really bad posture and he wants to have a good posture. So the first step is start to making yourself more straight, start imitating the good posture. So this is exactly the same. We need to start imitating healthy breathing all the time. And in order to do that, we need to understand all parameters, all characteristics of healthy breathing. Most people, especially people with asthma, they know very well what is unhealthy breathing, but they don't know how healthy breathing looks like. And Dr. Buteyko described it for us. The first characteristic is nasal breathing. We are supposed to breathe through the nose only, day and night. There are no excuses except one. If you are in a life-threatening situation and you need to run fast to save your life, or you need to fight really badly to save your life, then definitely breathe through your mouth. Because when you breathe through your mouth, your body receives a message that it's a war-like situation. It's an extremely stressful situation, and it makes all resources available to you at that time. So it's totally appropriate to breathe through the mouth in a situation like this. However, if you are not fighting for your life, if you're just sitting maybe in a comfortable office chair in front of your computer, don't breathe through your mouth, because you don't want your body, your brain to think that the situation is very stressful. The nose is the organ which conditions the air for our consumption. The nose filters air, the air. The nose changes the temperature of the air. And many harmful bacteria and viruses actually gets killed on the mucous membrane of the nose. So many people with breathing difficulties are always trying to buy air purifiers. Well, you don't really need an air purifier if you're using your nose. You have one, the best one. Okay. So nasal breathing should be 24/7, no matter what you do. And now I'd like you to close your eyes and just answer a few questions about your breathing. First of all, do I always breathe through my nose? Do I breathe through my mouth while sleeping? Do I breathe through my mouth while exercising? Do I inhale through my mouth while talking? Do I breathe through my mouth when I am stressed? Okay. So please open your eyes Make sure that you are breathing through your noses right now, that you are practicing healthy breathing. And remember your answers. If you don't breathe through your nose day and night, and while exercising, and while talking, and while stressed, then you definitely need to train yourself to breathe better. The second characteristic of healthy breathing is silent and invisible. It doesn't have to be silent, but it has to be quiet, that's for sure. So listen to your breathing. You shouldn't be able to hear the sound of your breathing. Now, invisible, what does it mean? Dr. Buteyko said that imagine that you're standing in front of a big mirror and your torso is completely naked and you're looking at yourself at the mirror. Nothing in the body should indicate that you are breathing. Your shoulders should not be moving with breathing like this. Chest breathing should not be present when people breathe like shallower and fast and shallow, like this way. So your chest should be completely still. And at the beginning, it's fine if your belly is moving, but later, even your belly should be still. Okay? So of course, the diaphragm always moves. But if you are practicing reduced, peaceful breathing, it will be moving very little, maybe just like this. So if you're looking at yourself, you shouldn't be able to notice any movements, right? So if you have any movements right now related to your breathing, try to reduce them. And the third factor is relaxed and peaceful breathing. Apparently, more relaxed we are, the higher level of CO2 we have. You can increase your CO2 level and decrease your symptoms by simply practicing relaxation. And relaxation is the core element of this method, right? So all breathing exercises you will do in the future, you need to use relaxation as a foundation for them. Okay. So I would like you to listen to a breathing normalization meditation. It's a guided meditation. You will hear my voice. It's a recorded meditation. And please close your eyes and follow the instructions. And this will help you to experience the Buteyko method, the Buteyko breathing. Oops. Let me see, maybe. Oh yeah, okay. That should work. Just a second. You able to hear it? Breathing normalization meditation number 1. A sunny day. Please close your eyes and slightly roll them upwards. Imagine a blue sky above your head with a few clouds. Look at the clouds. What are their colors? What are their shapes? Are they moving or not? Your mouth is closed. You are gently breathing through your nose. Imagine the wind blowing and clouds slowly drifting away. Now you can clearly see the beautiful blue sky. Look closer. Imagine a bright sun shining above your head. Your mouth is closed. You are gently breathing through your nose. Imagine a single sunbeam coming down and gently touching your forehead. All muscles in this area instantly become relaxed. Your skin becomes soft and flexible and full of energy. If there are any wrinkles in this area, they disappear. The sunbeam is playfully touching your face. It is slowly moving down and touching your eyes and the tip of your nose and your cheeks and your lips and your chin. Do you feel its pleasant warmth? All your facial muscles are soft and relaxed. Your whole face is surrounded by beautiful white light. Your whole face is illuminated. Your mouth is closed. You are gently breathing through your nose. Roll your eyes upwards again and look at the sun. Imagine another ray of light coming down and touching your throat. All muscles in this area are becoming soft and flexible. The sunbeam is slowly moving down through your neck and your shoulders, taking all tightness away and replacing it with a sense of ease and relaxation. Now, this part of your body is enveloped in dazzling light. Yellow, orange, beautiful light. Your mouth is closed. You are gently breathing through your nose. Look at the sky again. Imagine a third sunbeam coming down and lovingly touching the center of your chest. muscles around your lungs are enjoying this pink, rosy ray of light. All muscles are soft and relaxed. They are resting. Now the sunbeam is moving down to your abdominal area, to your diaphragm, taking all tension away from it and replacing it with joy and happiness. Your main breathing muscle, the diaphragm, becomes soft and flexible and very happy. Your mouth is closed. You are gently breathing through your nose. Roll your eyes upwards again. The sun is shining above your head, creating a zone of peace and harmony around you. It is safe and secure. Your whole body is surrounded by brilliant light. All muscles are soft and relaxed. Look at the first sunbeam touching your forehead. The second one is touching your throat. And the third one is touching your heart. Your mouth is closed. You are gently breathing through your nose, enjoying this wonderful sunny day. There is nothing to do. Breathing is happening all on its own. There is no need to support this process. All your muscles are soft and relaxed. Your breathing is gentle. Your breathing is healthy. Your breathing is beautiful. Your mouth is closed. Your chest is still. And your shoulders are still. And your stomach is still. There is nothing to do. Your mouth is closed. You are gently breathing through your nose. Now open your eyes and enjoy this wonderful, easy day. Okay, welcome back. Did you notice that your breathing changed a little bit? Were you able to? Yeah, wonderful. I saw that some people were yawning a lot, and it's a normal reaction to increase of CO2, because, as I said, overbreathing is incredibly stressful for the body. So many people with breathing difficulties experience chronic fatigue because their bodies are in a constant state of stress due to overbreathing. So when you start increasing your CO2 when you start relaxing, a lot of yawning sometimes comes, but after a while it changes. And actually, usually people who practice this method don't yawn much at all because they don't have really good level of energy. So now the last characteristic of healthy breathing. It's so-called automatic pause. Dr. Buteyko discovered that we, modern people, don't breathe the same as wild animals do. In fact, we don't even breathe the same as our ancestors did. And this is because our lifestyle is based on comfort and pleasure, and we are not hungry that often. We are not moving the whole day long, and all of that. Our lifestyle is quite sedentary, or some people exercise too much, but it's definitely not the same as people 200 years ago or so had. So modern people mostly breathe non-stop this way, in, out, like in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. There are no stop of breathing. Wild animals and our ancestors used to breathe this way, in, out, breathing stops on its own. In, out, breathing stops on its own. And that natural stop is called automatic pause. It usually gets developed when control pause becomes about 40 seconds. If you breathe non-stop, if you don't have automatic pause, your breathing is not healthy. Okay? And you need to start developing automatic pause. And I show you an exercise for it. Again, you can close your eyes, become very aware of your breathing, and notice your inhalation and your exhalation. And now try to stop your breathing for 1, 2, or 3 seconds after an exhale. You don't need to block your nose, just gently stop your breathing for a couple of seconds and then start breathing normally again. Okay, and let's try to do it 2 more times. Just observe your breathing, and after, yes, and I can.
Yes, can you repeat? Are we exhaling, inhaling and stop, or exhaling and stop?
Mm-hmm. You exhale, stop for a couple of seconds. Inhale, exhale, stop. Okay, so one more time. Just notice your inhalation and exhalation, and gently stop your breathing after an exhale for 1, 2, or 3 seconds. It should be very easy. Okay. Thank you. Did it work? Are you able to do it? Great. So this is a very, very simple exercise which we are supposed to do up to 1,000 times a day. And this creates carbon dioxide. This stops breathing difficulties, actually. And eventually your body will start doing it on its own. So there will be no effort to do it. Okay. And then probably the last, no, not the last, one of the last breathing exercises for today, which Dr. Buteyko called number 1 breathing exercise. And if you can master this exercise and practice this type of breathing all the time, you really don't need anything else. But most people can't, so they need a lot of other techniques and support. But try this. Imagine that your breathing difficulties imagine a monster hiding, somewhere in your room. And this monster is asthma, is breathing difficulties. And imagine that this monster has a form of a really big cat. So that cat is watching you all the time. It never goes away. Wherever you go, it goes with you. And for as long as you breathe as a little mouse, this cat cannot catch you. What does it mean to breathe like a little mouse? It's everything I described before. You breathe through your nose only, so your mouth is not open and the cat cannot see your breathing. Your breathing is silent, the cat cannot hear it, and nothing in your body moves because of breathing. So the cat cannot see you breathing. And if you can add a short breath hold to it, like it's almost like you're frightened, you're very alert, and you stop breathing for a few seconds, then then you truly breathe like a little mouse. And that type of breathing stops breathing difficulties and makes us much, much healthier. So if you just remember this one thing, always breathe like a little mouse, because the cat is watching you. Now, just this thing alone will improve your health tremendously. Dr. Buteyko invented this term for children first, and it was so helpful that he started using it with adults as well. So please keep breathing like a little mouse, and we will discuss other aspects of the Buteyko method. And also, I want you to know that if you ever experienced meditation, then you should be familiar with this type of breathing like a little mouse. Because many people, when they deep in meditation, they notice that their breathing change. It becomes very quiet, invisible, very subtle, almost non-existent, right? And that is healthy breathing. That's how we are supposed to breathe all the time. Now I'd like to discuss how our lifestyle affects our breathing and how to improve various aspects of the lifestyle to make our breathing better. And it's a very, very big topic, but I'll give you some ideas. Most people with breathing difficulties cannot exercise without feeling breathless or without breathing through the mouth. And many people at the end, not at the end, but at some point are locked in the situation when if they exercise, they don't feel good. If they don't exercise, then they don't feel good either, and they're not improving their health. So fortunately, the Buteyko method gives people the way out of that end, basically. And physical activities is a very big part of this method. But we start with what's possible for a person. So your first step is to determine your baseline. What kind of exercises you can do by breathing through your nose only and breathing quietly. For example, for someone, it could be jogging, right? So a person might be jogging and breathing through the mouth like this. So this is counterproductive. This is actually injuring your breathing. It means that you are doing, this exercise is too intense for your breathing, right? Then you might say, okay, I'll run slow and I will breathe through my nose. And you might be running and breathing this way. So this is also overbreathing, but now it's overbreathing through the nose instead of the mouth. So it's also too much for your breathing. And if you are jogging and you are breathing this way, then this is okay for you. Then this exercise is positive for your breathing. So start with what you can do instead of what you cannot do. For some people, it could be just a few gentle steps. That's it. For someone else, it might be, half an hour on the elliptical machine. Wherever you start, you just make sure you're practicing nasal, silent, or quiet, invisible breathing, and then you start increasing your speed and intensity. And eventually you will be able to exercise a lot, to do aerobic exercises, to lift weights, to run marathons, whatever, maintaining nasal breathing. And then every workout will keep improving your respiration and your optimal health. Right now, I'm sure for many people, exercises are actually making their health and breathing weaker. And it's not how it's supposed to be. The next part of the lifestyle is sleeping. Many people breathe through their mouth when they are asleep. And by doing so, they lose a lot of carbon dioxide. And they wake up feeling tired. Sometimes people wake up and they feel like they're having a hangover, even though they went to bed early and they didn't drink anything, and still it's that feeling. So it's greatly because of mouth breathing and excessive breathing at night. So you might want to purchase a gentle paper tape like this, which is available in any pharmacy, and start using a small piece of tape at night by putting it vertically on your mouth like this. So this is safe because if you want to breathe through your mouth, you still can open your mouth if necessary. How this tiny piece of tape will start improving your health, maybe better than many fancy health practitioners, and it will train you to breathe better and breathe through your nose only at night. Then food. Food highly impacts our breathing. Dr. Buteyko said that if you are an asthmatic and you eat dairy products, expect to have an asthma attack within 30 minutes after eating that. So dairy products impact our breathing highly, but only if a person's control pose is low. So if you want to get out of breathing difficulties, try to avoid all dairy products or eat them minimally. And you could always measure your control pose before and after eating and see if a meal improves your breathing or decreased your vital energy. The same or similar situation is with animal-based products, mostly meat, but also it could be seafood or poultry for some people. So staying on animal-based, eating mostly plant-based products, eating lightly and feeling a bit hungry often helps breathing tremendously. Again, there are tons of details about it, but it just gives you a direction. And then another very important part of a lifestyle which affects breathing is talking. Many of you probably feel that if you talk for a long time, you feel very tired after that. Or you might have asthma symptoms after just, having a conversation with a friend. So that happens because people lose a lot of CO2 while talking. And they do that by inhaling through their mouth. So I'm going to exaggerate how it goes usually, but it gives you an idea. So if I'll start doing this, I'm just going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you what happened yesterday, it was just so awful and all of that, right? So it feels very stressful actually, and my breathing is very stressful. And I feel a little bit of tension right now in my chest right away, just by demonstrating this type of breathing to you. So you need to train yourself to breathe gently, to breathe peacefully, and inhale only through your nose while talking. And here's how you do this. I'm inhaling through my nose, and now I'm talking on exhalation, and I'm going to talk for as long as I have the air, and I'm going to stop when I'm almost out of air. Now I'm inhaling through my nose again, and I keep talking on exhalation. So people talk on exhalation no matter what. You don't need to change this part. You need to change the first part. Instead of inhaling through your mouth, you inhale through your nose. Okay? Okay. So do you understand how to do that? Wonderful. In this case, I would like to use breakout rooms again. And I would like you to take turns and simply introduce yourself by breathing through your nose only, by inhaling through your nose only, right? And I want your partners to watch your breathing, to watch if it's really nasal breathing or you're still inhaling through your mouth, you're just not aware of it. And also, please watch the body movements. So it shouldn't be like this. My name is Sasha and I live in Creston, Colorado. I'm 56 years old. I teach breathing, right? It has to be quiet, gentle, and invisible. Okay? So we'll take 2-3 minutes maybe to do this exercise. Thank you. Wonderful. Welcome back. So please tell me whether it was easy or difficult for you. Were you able to inhale through your nose only while talking? And you're welcome to, yeah, you were able to do that? Great. And most people were able to, oh, that's just so great. Yeah. Was it difficult? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it takes a while to establish this habit, to apply this technique. And yeah, it definitely takes a month or two for this new breathing pattern to become natural and automatic. So at the Breathing Center, we often work with people individually, trying to help them to improve their lifestyle and to do the breathing exercises which specifically work very well for them. So we are a bit out of time, and I'm going to keep the last part very short because of that. Today, I can really give you everything you need to get out of breathing difficulties. You received all essentials. And of course, there are millions of details and adjustments to apply the method successfully. But you did receive all the essentials. Dr. Buteyko said that if you apply my method 10%, you will reduce your symptoms and feel better by 10%. If you apply my method 100%, you will completely stop your symptoms and feel great 100%. And my experience is that it's exactly how it works. Also, sometimes we say the method never fails, but the student does. It's another phrase which belonged to Dr. Buteyko. He also said, it's easy to understand my method, but it's difficult to apply it. The essence of the method is just the phrase, breathe less, always. But the application could be quite tricky. And in order to help people like you who have breathing difficulties, in order to help people to be successful at applying the Buteyko method, we developed several programs at the Breathing Center. And I'm going to tell you briefly about those programs because I want you to know how to keep applying this method and what to do after this short workshop. So let me just open my screen again. Just a second. Don't understand it. Right here. So first of all, you already received the Buteyko Breathing Exercise and Method CD. You received it as a download. And it's a very good overview of the method. So I'd like you to listen to it and you will find more and more details there on how to apply the method. Then you also received this book, Breathe to Heal. This is my book, which contains some text by Dr. Buteyko. So please read this book. It has a lot of testimonials by people. It says it's written by myself, Dr. Buteyko, and those who tamed their asthma. So many of my clients contributed into this book by describing their stories, the ways how they tamed their breathing difficulties. Also on our website, we have a video course, and it's 8 hours of video. It's my instructions step by step what to do regarding breathing. And we deliberately made it, very inexpensive, affordable for all people. If you need help, let's say you're following the video course, but something is not working for you and you need help, you can always register for a private session with me, and I'll help you to develop an individual plan on how to apply this method. And then we have this, the most effective program. People who, wrote their stories for this book, they all took this individual 2 months long program. It's very involved, but it's incredibly effective. So in this case, we keep in touch with the person every day for 2 months, and we really hold the person's hand and helping to apply this method in a very individualized way. So those are our main programs. And by the way, this breathing normalization training comes with a free preliminary consultation. So if you are considering taking this program and you'd like to discuss this training and your situation with me, please register for a free preliminary consultation on our website, and I will be very glad to meet with you one-on-one. So those programs really help to apply the method successfully, 100%. And of course, I could tell you endless stories of people who had breathing difficulties and they were able to stop their breathing difficulties. As a result of it, they became medication free. But then the next step is to create the level of optimal health. And they managed to do that. So you know how people with asthma and breathing difficulties usually don't feel comfortable breathing in cold air or pollen, or it's like too cold, too hot outside, or too humid. Humidity greatly impacts breathing. I have quite a few clients who now swim in frozen lakes. They have spent so much time outdoors and really strong and healthy. And all of us are incredibly fortunate. I say we all have a good karma that somehow we came across the Buteyko method. And why, one way or another, it's now available to us. And every day I feel thankful to Dr. Buteyko because, at my age of 56 years old, 56 years, I'm supposed to feel worse and worse every year. But actually, I feel better and better every year, because before Buteyko, I had been hyperventilating all my life, and I stopped it with the Buteyko method. And positive changes created by the Buteyko breathing method become more and more stable in my health, in my life every year. And that's why every year I actually feel more energy. I feel better. I feel somewhat younger instead of older. And Dr. Buteyko just was, such a brilliant, brilliant doctor, such a brilliant physiologist who created a discovery which was absolutely radical. And of course, it's not accepted by conventional medicine, because the conventional medicine is drug-oriented. When Dr. Buteyko said, by using your willpower, by changing your breathing, you can stop breathing difficulties. You can become completely healthy, regardless of your age, regardless of your background. And I just feel great that today I'm able to pass this precious gift to you. Thank you. And now I'm ready to answer your questions. Please, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box, or simply activate your microphone and ask your questions. Please, John.
Yeah, my question is, I can quiet my breathing when I'm relaxed, but when I have asthma, and when the asthma attack hits, I don't know what to, I try, but I can't, I'm not very successful in being able to relax when I have asthma. So do you have any helpful hints about that?
Absolutely. So it's training, you just keep relaxing yourself and increasing the level of CO2. And the higher the level of CO2 is, the less is the probability that you would have an asthma attack.
Yeah.
But for now, just try to do your best. Sometimes it also helps, if you feel that your chest is very tight, then you want to try to relax your body physically just by massaging this area and creating warmth here. But eventually, it will work better and better for you. And then you will be able to prevent the symptoms by relaxing, not when you have the asthma attack, but before it.
Okay. So eventually I just it won't happen. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes. However, the tendency to have asthma will stay with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But that's the tendency. So every time your control pulse goes down, you will have asthma attacks. But when it's up, you won't, because a defense mechanism against hyperventilation is not needed, right? So your goal should be to have the highest possible level of carbon dioxide and make it stable. In this case, you will not have asthma symptoms or asthma attacks because your body will not need them.
So what is a reasonable time? My control pause was 18. What's reasonable? I guess my goal should be to get it to 60.
Yes, that's the goal. However, you might not achieve it. It's quite difficult. But even if your control pause will become 35, 40 seconds, you will not have symptoms and you will have much more energy and you will feel much better.
Okay, and is there I know it varies from individual, but is there a reasonable time to be able to go from like 18 to 40? Or it just depends on each person?
It depends on everything. It depends on the starting point, how, severe the condition is, for how many years people were on medication, the lifestyle.
Okay.
Some people have, plenty of clients who experienced 80 seconds within the 2 months of our training.
Okay.
And some people, everyone is able to go up to 25 seconds and make 25 seconds stable. But some people are not able to achieve more than that within the first 2 months.
Okay. Can I ask another quick question? Or the thought of taping my mouth while I sleep really scares me.
Of course, yeah. And also you have a beard and a mustache, so that could
well,
be.
I could shave that.
Okay. Here is what you do, you look like a big, strong man, and yet you are scared of this little thing.
Well, I'm scared I'll suffocate.
I know.
Yeah.
So here's how you start. You simply put this piece on during the day, right?
Okay.
And you get very familiar to it. You feel like, if you want to take it off, you can take it off. And then when you don't have this fear anymore, then you start using it at night. And that's why, we use a tiny piece, because again, if you want to open your mouth at night, you can do that. That tape.
Right. I'll be asleep, so I won't know. Okay, I'll try that.
If you will have difficulties, the body will wake you up. That's for sure.
Okay. Okay, so nobody suffocated from doing that?
No.
No, okay. All right, thank you.
Anything you will stop suffocating. Because nasal
Okay,
breathing stops suffocating.
okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, please. Would you please activate your microphone? I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Hi, my name is Eva. Just wanted to reassure John because I have been using tape actually for quite a while, and I like it. I really don't find it's absolutely not a problem. I know it seems awful. It sounds awful, but yeah, it's pretty easy. From the beginning, I found it. It's not a problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just your beard will be a problem and the mustache. But
Okay,
why? It's yeah.
okay, thank you.
I don't wake up anymore with mouth, wide open and dry mouth.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
That's all I wanted to say.
That helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, some people get too attached to the tape, and in 2 months I say, your nasal breathing is perfect at night. It's time for you to stop using the tape. And they're like, I like my tape. I don't want to stop using it.
Actually, can I just ask one more question? Well, just ask the question, didn't ask the question. It's a young girl who I know, she's 18, and she has got a lot of health issues. But she tells me, because I was telling her, maybe try, breathe through the nose, and she says she cannot do it. And she has got chronic fatigue, and she's got some issues, some other, I'm not too sure really, but I know that the chronic fatigue is a big thing. And she's just adamant. She says, I cannot, it's impossible. I cannot breathe through the nose. And I've read somewhere that some people might have like actually physically, something with the nose that maybe they need some medical, I don't know, operation or something to, but I don't know if with her it's just the fear, she's not prepared to try, but yeah, she's just adamant, no, I cannot do it.
Mm-hmm. It's
That's
just not that simple. If it would be that simple that, we would say, just breathe through your nose and everyone would be able to do it, then our programs will not be needed. So I often work with children who have asthma, have all kinds of problems, enlarged adenoids, fatigue, all kinds of problems. And very slowly, step by step, I lead them through this training, and eventually they're able to breathe through their nose and noses and able to maintain nasal breathing all the time. But certainly could be very difficult for both children and adults.
Yeah. I have been trying to breathe through my nose, and I went on a walk yesterday with a group, and I was actually observing a few of my friends, and all of them, especially when we were going up the hill, and it wasn't a big hill, but they were all breathing through the mouth, and they were actually more out of breath than I was, and I was the oldest from the group, and I'm the one who's asthmatic, and they are not.
Right.
Surely trying through the nose is helping, definitely.
Absolutely. So when Jane Brody, the New York Times medical correspondent, decided to write an article about the breathing center, about my work, she was very skeptical about this whole issue, regarding nasal breathing, mouth breathing. So she wrote the article, but she was not going to submit it to her newspaper. And then what convinced her was the observation of her breathing. But she was in her 70s and she was swimming in a swimming pool almost every day. And she noticed that a lot of young people around her were completely out of breath when she was fine. And then she realized it's because she was breathing through her nose quietly when everyone around her was breathing through her mouth. And that's when she decided to publish this article.
But what about, people like Wim Hof, which obviously he tells you to breathe through the mouth. I know it's only for a short period of time. It's not all day long, but so what do you think of it?
Well, I don't think we have time to discuss this here, but actually this Tuesday evening, I'm doing a Facebook Live video specifically on this topic, Wim Hof breathing and other breathing techniques and how they affect our overall health. So I hope to see you there because I will answer this question in detail on Tuesday night. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, please. Would you please activate your microphone? Yeah.
Yes. I basically have 3 questions, but very fast. My issue is not really asthma, but my issue is that lately, my mouth and everything gets so dry. And in the middle of the night, and I've been using the tape for quite a while, for over 2 years, and it's been pretty good. But in the middle of the night, everything gets so dry, and it feels like I can exhale and I cannot inhale anymore. And my body kicks in, and I always get, this desperation to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if in your experience, you ever have encountered this kind of situation, and if that can help. And if that is so, how often should I be aware of the breathing that you just taught us? And maybe every hour, maybe twice an hour. I would like your input on that, if possible.
Have you been diagnosed with sleep apnea?
Yes, I have.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So what you described is some elements of sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
And I developed it as well, before I started practicing the Buteyko method. And sleep apnea is another reaction to overbreathing, specifically overbreathing at night. So when you use a tape at night, it helps us to breathe less and breathe through the nose. However, it doesn't stop overbreathing. Many people still snore through the nose, when they're asleep. So when a person has sleep apnea, breathing stops after an exhale, and that's what you described. And the body deliberately stops breathing because the level of CO2 becomes very low. And by stopping breathing, the body increases the level of CO2 and oxygenation as well. So, I showed you how to do short breath holds when you simply, so it's like playing sleep apnea. In this case, you are doing on your own what your body wants to do every night. It's a wonderful exercise for everyone who has sleep apnea. And you absolutely can stop your sleep apnea by applying this method. I'm one of people who did that. We have plenty of testimonials on our website from people who have stopped sleep apnea. Mm-hmm.
So do you recommend that I practice like every hour for a few minutes and try to get my body to adjust to this type of breathing? Because I do yoga and I do a lot of, alternate nostril breathing and stopping and all of that. But it seems like this is different and perhaps even more helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, difficult for me to answer the question whether you need to practice this method every hour.
Mm-hmm.
And, my real answer will be, you need to practice it all the time.
Okay.
And that's what we call being in the method.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Then, I am a yoga practitioner as well. And actually, I developed sleep apnea because I was doing vigorous yoga exercises, and they were too much for my breathing. And I was breathing through my mouth heavily. And I also have a lot of clients who are yoga practitioners, and they simply developed some health issues by practicing pranayama or by practicing asanas, which were too much for their breathing.
Mm.
So yoga techniques are great for breathing. Yoga pranayama techniques are great for breathing, when breathing is already strong.
Okay.
When breathing is weak, they could injure breathing.
Mm.
So it's like to understand that, you know, I offer you this analogy, which hopefully will help you to understand this. Let's say I would say running marathons could be helpful for, could be beneficial for health, right? It's true. But if if your leg is broken, you know, running a marathon could kill this person, right? So you need to heal your leg first, you need to walk, then jog slowly, and eventually you might be able to run a marathon. But it's like nothing is wrong with the marathon, but things could be wrong with the recipient. So that's how it works with advanced yoga breathing techniques.
Thank you so much. You answered my questions. Thank you.
You're very welcome. More questions? No? All right. Well, then, thank you very much. I hope all of you will improve your breathing, and see you another time. Bye now. Please well.